Hey, so I wanted to do a video. I basically have a mild conspiracy theory. You know, it's a little suspicious to me that there are literally no high capacity negative ion generators on the market. Like, not just in the US market, but I'm looking on the internet. I can't find negative ion generators that put out more than uh, like 100 million negative ions per centimeter anywhere. Um, the one that I got 10 years ago is, roughly 10 times the size of the ones that are being advertised as high capacity or high output today. So, you pick something up and it's almost the same money. Like I spent, I think, $200. I bought a bunch of them because I bought two for myself and I bought one for each of my kids. So they couldn't have been more than $200 because I wouldn't have spent that much money. But at most, they were $200. Today, if you spend $200 on negative ion generator, you're lucky if you're getting a million. Never mind 250 million. So the reason I have a little bit of a conspiracy theory about this is because the products previously existed. It's not like, normally things progress in one direction. Um, and it might be a market demand thing, but here's where the conspiracy kind of creeps in. These things are highly effective against viruses. We've been in a pandemic for years. It's been known that they're highly effective against viruses for years. You would think, logically, that the commercial demand would increase, and with it, the standardized capacity of some of these equipment, uh, some of these manufacturers anyway, and the equipment that they offer, would increase with the demand in the commercial industrial sector in the midst of a pandemic and businesses trying to stay open. But not only have they not been advertised or really discussed at all, uh, some talk of air purification, but it's suspicious to me. So anyway, I've been doing more research on them, and I will say that the people that are into them as these things go, just like with the hydrogen, it seems to be more popular in Asian countries. And I think that, goes to kind of a life affirming culture, which is a good thing. You don't want a culture that is death worshippers, because they'll probably lead you to death. Not that you should fear death, whatever, but this is kind of my point. It's like we have this culture that's suspiciously dismissive of all things that tend to increase lifespan. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just one time. It's is fairly persistent that the medical community, including psychology and all these things, are completely dismissive of concerns that are accumulative in nature. They they want to deal with immediate trauma. I think that's part of it, is that our medical community is much more focused on the immediate trauma than long term consequences. But it's beyond that. It's not just dismissive. It's like, at this point, suspiciously like subversive. You know what I mean? Because the dismissive nature has turned into not just, you crazy, do what you want. Like, no, you're crazy, we're going to take away your freedom and children. You know what I mean? Aggressive dismantling of one's ability to pursue, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Um, the life aspect of that being the cornerstone of this video. So I'm looking on the internet and I'm trying to find, because I want a backup, basically. Trying to find something comparable to what I have, so that, if my kids come over, I can treat a larger area, or um, if my equipment breaks and we're suffering supply chain shortages, I can continue basically preventing myself from getting viruses uh, uninterrupted. And I'm looking on the internet, and they just don't exist. And the few people I've been able to find on YouTube that are talking about them are basically saying the same thing. Like, these things work, they're effective, the different products on the market are not as advertised, but are worthy of consideration. Um, some of the people out there have much better testers than me, so I think that's important when actually assessing some of this stuff's capacity, and also when you are looking at a generator that is intentionally trying to treat the air and not trying to treat you, and is simultaneously producing positive and negative ions close to each other. You have to understand that they are going to neutralize fairly quickly, um, and that the purpose is that in that distance of equalizing the charge, it is killing viruses, bacteria, mold spores in the air, or not. Well, yeah, killing is a fair term. Neutralizing, surrounding with opposing charge, whatever the case may be. So, understanding all those nuances and putting that aside, just the fact that we've had this overt viral threat in our face for years now, and the production of these things not only isn't being talked about, but isn't being ramped up, is a little bit beyond coincidental. It's a little suspicious, because somebody out there should have said, let's ramp up production of these things, let's ramp up capacity. But just the opposite has happened, and that the people who were manufacturing the large output ones are out of business. They're not manufacturing them anymore. And there may be safety issues that I'm unaware of. One of the products I had did end up getting damaged. It was overheating, and some of the plastic had melted. So maybe there was some issue with a fire hazard with some of these really large DC transformers. But they're not that large. I mean, we're talking like 50 watts here. It's just they're stepping on them up to 75,000 volts DC. So it's high voltage. It's very high voltage, but it's not high power. But that's a potential reason they went out of business. I don't want to say like, government goon squads came in and like tore up their their bank statements and nailed their doors closed. But it's really suspicious to me that these things are not commonplace considering the viral threat currently. And the fact that they're not even available anymore is suspicious. And I don't want they are available. It's just there's a big difference between something like this that produces, 1 million or 2 million negative ions that you have to wear like an inch from your face in order for it to really treat anything that is you're inhaling. And even then, you're going to be having larger particulates. It's not ideal, but it is a mechanism to neutralize a virus before it goes into your nose. And then something like that, I can't even. That can neutralize a whole room. You know what I mean? So I get it that these things are still available and that you can put one right here and you can basically prevent any viruses that are not attenuated to death or not. They're still active, right? They still have the potential to reproduce. Their DNA hasn't been sufficiently damaged while outside of the cell, which is basically what you want to do. You want to bind enough electrons to the water molecule that's holding the virus so that the hydrogen is depleted from the viral DNA. And when the viral DNA has been depleted of enough hydrogen, it's no longer effective at reproducing itself. It's been essentially killed. It's difficult to say killed because it's not alive to begin with, but that's how it works. So if this is the less preferred option, by my understanding, because you're still breathing in the particulate matter, which isn't ideal, and it's far from a fully protected area, especially if you're walking around. If I'm on my bike, this is worthless. It's 10 feet behind me and it doesn't matter. If it was like in an enclosed helmet, okay, then it's effective. But to what degree are you exposed to viral DNA when you're in an enclosed helmet? So that's not ideal. Something like that can treat a room and then have positive plates that are collecting the charged particles so that you're not breathing in that particulate matter is the preferred option, clearly. But that doesn't exist, and these do. It seems like a culture of death thing to me. It seems like people aren't trying enough. Like, this is at best. This is, I just think, more probable than an actual culture of death squad that's going around and putting health food restaurants out of business so that they can open another McDonald's. No disrespect to McDonald's, they've come a long way and they do offer a lot of healthy options. I'm just using them as kind of the stereotypical junk food, fast food restaurant. Um, they actually offer quite a few salads and smoothies and yogurts now that I do appreciate. So I don't mean to disparage the brand, but fast food, you know, the typical fast food restaurant uh, is thriving, and the health food restaurants are failing, not because the government is actually going around and trying to kill us, but it seems like our culture is trying to kill itself. And I'm trying to understand the mechanisms of that. I really am. It's weird to me that a solution existed and died on the vine of capitalism right as it was needed. It's weird.